and as I peeked outside the door, the whole place had been demolished. It seemed as if a tornado had swept through the corridor, drilling through both the floor and the ceiling, obliterating the walls. Wickham battled someone here and was likely still engaged in that fight. But who was there for him to fight? I had a hard time imagining he'd blow the whole place to smithereens just to catch Honjo or Himura. This looked like the battlefield of two even on much powers that defied common sense.
Sakurai.
Was she fighting Wickham now? Why? What for? I had no idea what was going on, but I couldn't imagine any other possibility. I could certainly remember them not being on the best of terms. Hell, they fought amongst themselves almost constantly in front of me. Could this be a thing they actually did on a daily basis or something? But why now of all times? How did they end up fighting each other? Slightly upset by this unexpected outcome, I still didn't feel like celebrating my unbelievable stroke of luck. In fact, this was, for all intents and purposes, a situation very much working in my favor. Was Sakurai genuinely fighting that blood-crazed monster?
死ぬぞお前。仮に勝ったとしてもただじゃ済まない。
She wouldn't come out of a fight like that unscathed. Not to mention, it would count as treason against the obsidian table. The hell was I doing, worrying about her? Irritated my own softness, I followed the trail of destruction with my eyes. It seemed like their fight reached all the way to the roof.
わけわからねえやつ。
I forced her out of my head for now, and returned to my own fight, drawing near one of the windows to have a look at the inner yard.
来いよルサルカ。俺が相手してやりゃ、そいつらなんかいらないだろ。
Ruth answered my words with a jovial laugh. She made a kind leap after me with countless shadows falling in his wake. I lured him to the athletics field and put him out of his misery there. I didn't have time to worry about those two fools fighting the roof. I simply didn't. I had Sakurai away. Which is a lie. I would never place her in the same category as Kazumi, Himura, Mari, and Honjo. Yeah, I would. Now that I thought about it, Honjo did say something stupid about me not choosing my words carefully enough. If there was one person I wouldn't mince words for, it would be Sakurai for sure. I'd never met a more infuriating woman in my life!
マジで喧嘩相手だろ。
Although on a somewhat different vector than Shiro, she was a true enigma through and through. And so, well, I kinda had a lingering thought. It would be quite irritating if she just went and keeled over on her own before we could finish our fight. Yeah. There were... Oh. Sorry, I lost the music. Come back, music. Okay. The raging whirlwind fucking broke through the ceiling of the fourth floor, emerging atop the roof. Wilhelm's violent roundhouse kick crashed into Kate's belly. If that alone wasn't enough, the sticks that sprouted from his leg at the time of the impact pierced through her skin and flesh, tearing apart her stomach and guts. One could hardly call this a battle, even if she hadn't been hurt before the fight. Even if her strength wasn't being continually drained by the vampiric knight's influence, she could hardly compare to Wilhelm Ehrenburg in a one-on-one fight. The impact swept her away, but before she could hit the steel fence of the roof, Wilhelm caught up to her at inhuman speed and, snatching her by the head, slammed her face first into the concrete of the floor. The recent impact made the roof cave in, yet the Ivory Demon wouldn't stop there. Wilhelm, borrowing strength from the momentum, tossed Kate's body aside like a lifeless doll. She crashed on the ground and, leaving a chiseled trail along the concrete, slid all the way to the water tower over 20 meters away from Wilhelm. That alone caused her tremendous damage, yet still she had to thank the guns for her miraculous luck. Had Wilhelm sprouted a stake in his palm as he snatched her head, she would have most likely had a hole in her skull right about now. That wouldn't look good. And so she would rise to her feet again. She would stand and fight. The battle had only just begun. Her opponent, however, just leaned back against the steel fence and snickered to himself. He was mocking her. Rage filled Kate's mind for a split second, but at the same time she had to admit she had yet to land a single effective strike on her foe. She needed to calm down, being naturally less apt for battle, as well as severely handicapped by her wounds. Kate would stand no chance if she lost her cool here. Kay evened her breathing and stood up, only to be met by Wilhelm's impressed snort.
今の俺にはなかなかできねえことをする。よくやるもんだよ、レオン。
He had almost completely turned to a modern beast. Being a fusion type inside his own creation figment, his mind was currently a blur. His reasoning, insight, and judgment the level of a wild animal. As such, it was likely that his behavior was merely an attempt to enrage Kay and to bring her down to his level of mindless savagery.
少し意外だ。あなたはそんなものに執着していない人だと思っていたから。
Rather than relying on a head that hardly functioned anyway, it made a lot more sense for him to give in to the impulse of carnage. And this made everything inside like an indiscriminate killing machine. The Knight of Blood-Saint Roses did indeed appear to obey such reasoning. But then why was he still trying to play tricks on her? His answer was blunt, with no attempts made to imply there was any hidden meaning behind the words.
相手が切れりゃ切れるほど冷める類のやつと相性が悪い。てめえや、そうさな。バビロンなんかがそんな感じだ。つまんねえじゃねえか。こっちがどれだけ燃えてもよ、ノリに付き合ってくれねえやつは面白くねえ。G にはまるような年でもねえしな。その点、他の連中はいいノリしてるぜ。種類はバラバラだが。一緒に行ってくれようとはしてくれる。
Wilhelm kicked a fragment of concrete that lay at his feet up in the air and tossed it at Kay.
つまり、今のお前じゃそそらねえ。
The concrete whizzed past Kay's left cheek, leaving a crimson trail as it scrubbed her skin before crushing the water tongue behind her, piercing through it as if it was no more than a sponge cake.
せっかく少しは見直したんだ。退屈させんなよ、俺よ。
Water erupted from the skewered tongue, soaking Kay from head to toe. She could feel the temperature of her body plummet, with both the offensive liquid and the vampire night robbing her of warmth. But that was all superficial, an exterior, no more.
私がそそらない。
Well, yeah, kind of pathetic if you ask me. Didn't someone else just tell her the same thing the other day? She knew she was not cute. She was cute, actually. She is cute. I mean, her character is kinda irritating, but she's cute. Kay was very much aware of how unpleasant she was, without a hint of femininity to her. I wouldn't agree with that. But even still.
もっとはっきり見てちょうだい。
You can tell, actually, that's my approach to Kay from the very beginning to get to the game until now really changed. Remaining cool was of cardinal importance. She wasn't planning to abandon her reasoning, insight or judgment just because these men wished to it so.
で、私は
Yet deep down in her heart she had been just as devout as the rest of them these past 11 years. It might have been nothing compared to the 6 years of insanity they lived with, but didn't mean she'd allow him to dismiss the flame burning her heart, no matter how small it might be.
私は外側だけ格好をつけるのが変に上手くなってしまったか
Okay.
らわからないんでしょうね。
Her mind was cool and thoughts clear, yet her soul would always blaze in maddening fury. Keisakura sheltered a perpetual inferno within her heart, not the kind of man like Wilhelm could comprehend. He would never understand how fierce and starved for blood she truly was on the inside. She might have maintained the act of a cool and quiet one, but her heart blazed with a fervent, undying passion from the very moment their fight began.
ありがとうって言ったじゃない。
She certainly did.
あなたと盛り上がっていくことに依存なんかないわよ、ベイ。うがって刺して貫いて痛めつけて罵倒してよ。せめてあなただけでもそうしてくれなきゃ私なんて。
もうお前のことなんかどうでもいい。
What worth was there left to her when a naive fool like that man would dismiss her?
まずやろうが。
Wilhelm slowly shifted his weight to his feet, leaving the embers of the fence. He raised his right hand next to his face and squeezed it into a fist with such intensity that even Kay could hear the creaking of his finger joints.
てめえも結構な変態だってのは分かったよ。いい面だれよ。お望み通りぐっしゃぐしゃにしてやる。
Please don't. She's nice. A stone of flesh, Wilhelm covered the 20-meter distance in the blink of an eye with a single leap, thrusting his fist straight into Kay's face. She didn't falter and remained steady on her feet. Fist after fist assaulted her like a thunderous squall. With the embers of his realm, Wilhelm's entrails remained boundless, for the rose knight deprived others of life, energizing its master in exchange. He could maintain this torturous process for the entire day, for the whole night, or even longer. Forever, if only he wished so. Despite launching over 10 punches quick succession and the defenseless Kay, he still managed to dodge the girl's surprise stab like a savage animal. Utilizing the centrifugal force from his leap, he then swung around, crushing his elbow right into Kay's temple. That bastard. Poor Kay. Following that last attack, her knees finally gave away and she collapsed on the ground, only to receive a vicious kick to her chin that sent her flying. Kay flew 4 or 5 meters in the air from the impact, but before gravity could do its job to send her back down, Wilhelm was already above her. Crimson eyes, ruffled hair, a pair of sizable fangs gleamed behind his lips. In his present state, Wilhelm was indeed a true vampire in every sense of the word. He wished to become a demon preying on the blood of others, to be born anew as a maelstrom of carnage and terror and beauty, a phoenix risen from midnight's ashes. Such was the craving nestled within Wilhelm Ehrenburg's heart. Within this night, within this creation figment, he was indeed the very Dracula he idolized. He caught another of Kay's desperate swings with his teeth. It beat deep into the blade and rammed his right fist, now laden with spikes, into her chest. How dare you! True to the name of the impaler, he scoured the woman's petite frame, pinning her to the ground.
どうだい、ジオちゃん。少しはいけたか。
Oh boy.
感じすぎてもう動けない。
What? Even if one disregarded now how Kay was pinned to the ground by stake, her heart had just been sundered by a knot and a fatal wound, no doubt about it, for she might have been spared an instantaneous death. It changed little of the fact that she had been rendered completely paralyzed.
そりゃよかった。遺言がありゃ聞いてやる。
優しいのね、意外と。
なーに、こんなもんはただの名残だ。戦の前には衣装を書く。出撃前にはダチとそれを交換する。俺もな、レオン。人間やってた頃はそれぐらいの可愛げを持ってたもんだ。みんな死ぬ。全員死ぬ。残るのはいつも俺。ちょいと周りを見回しや。似たようなのが10人そこらいたってだけのそんな話よ。
だから。
ああ。
だからあなたはそんな風になろうとしたの。戦友たちと一つになりたかったの。
違うね。そういうのはマキナ。いや、あいつも何考えてんのかわかんねえが、俺はそんな柄じゃね
だったらどうして？
さて知らんねえ。昔すぎて忘れたよ。
Wilhelm cast his eyes at the skies above. He could gaze on the crimson moon, his rose knight. As long as it persisted, he would remain immortal, a genuine vampire, and...
わかったような、わからないような。
Kay's quivering lips tried to form a wry smile.
ただ、あなたの想像がどんなものか、それはわかった。ねえベイ、せっかくの白い肌にやけどなんかつけてどうしたの？
In response to Kay's baffling remark, Wilhelm simply looked down upon the girl still lying motionless at his feet.
さっき私の剣を噛んだ時、治りがずいぶん遅いのね。
Indeed, Wilhelm's face was still littered with small burns from that time. Okay, practically half dead already, the blade carried little to nothing of her flame's usual ferocity to add insult to injury. She had also lost a considerable amount of life force to Wilhelm's vampiric night. Light burns, the kind that would normally disappear in a heartbeat, still littled his face. Why was that so?
想像以外はルールの想像。術者自身の魂に刻まれた強い渇望。それをルールに変えて世界を変える。変えて新たに作り出す。あなたの夢は吸血鬼。
He wished to become a demon that drank the blood of others. He was born to a world with no light, into a world replete with filth, and so he chose the night as his chief domain.
夜が永遠に明けなければいい。
He wished to become a demon that reigned supreme in the dark of night.
それがあなたのルール。
Took you long enough.
つまり
吸血鬼には弱点がある。
Silvered crosses, sunlight and running water, sacramental bread and...
炎に弱い。
So are humans! Under normal circumstances, neither of those posed a threat to a knight of the obsidian table. However, in exchange for gaining grab powers in his own world, Wilhelm Ehrenburg had to bear weaknesses he'd otherwise never even dream of possessing.
おかしいと思ったの。だって今のあなたは強すぎるから。
She knew that everyone would grow stronger within their own creation of figment to an extent. Hey, click here. Oh, I will not click there for sure. You weirdo. Yeah, I got that notification about comment under one of the videos and yeah. Click the link. Oh, fuck you. Spam reported. Ooh. That's how it ends on under my videos, sorry. Not really sorry. But Wilhelm's incredible boost of power defied all sense and reason.
論理の逆転による自己肯定。日の光に生まれたんじゃない。自分が日に背を向けたんだと。そう信じた形が吸血鬼という夢。結果、弱点すら受け入れる願望ゆえに、ここのあなたは誰より強い。
その通りだ。
With the burns found vanishing from his glimpse, Wilhelm tossed his head back and halted the night sky above in unbridled laughter. Alright, skip.
いいぞレオン。てめえなかなかいい女だよ。俺としては見え見えのつもりなんだが、これが意外にほとんどのやつは気づかねえ。それでさあどうする？どうしてくれる？せっかく盛り上がってきたんじゃねえか。まさかこのまま種明かしだけしてさよならなんてことはねえよな。
Burn him.
ええ。できるだけ期待に沿うわ。
Kate's voice regained its calm and balanced tone. After receiving such a beating and even having her heart pierced, it seemed a miracle that she could still breathe, let alone talk, and yet...
私のルールを教えてあげる。
A blazing infernal scourge gave from heart to soul, yet the girl, even amidst the raging flames of passion and fury, retained her cool and collected mind.
彼そのカムサリ玉菱イザナミは出雲の国と母木の国その境なる火場の山に納め祭りき
Her area of strife came alive, and with each new syllable uttered, Kay's skin and every strand of her began to turn a vivid hue of orange.
ここにイザナギの御事見吐かせる戸塚の剣を抜きてその子かぐ土の首を切りたま引き
She slowly rose to her feet, slipping through the stake, piercing her heart, and leaving it pinned to the ground.
想像
His Sakurai transformed to an avatar of fire itself. Look at
見余
that!
す神の御事持ちて太まにに振られて乗りたまひつらく
So she transformed into Shana. From Shakugan no Shana. Honestly, I didn't like the MCs there. The next moment, a pillar of flames descended upon the roof. Especially the guy was so annoying, my goodness. With every episode I wished he was just, you know, sliced, get rid of. But no. Wilhelm instantly jumped out of harm's way, twisting his body in the air like an acrobat before landing atop the fence. He considered the Scarlet Girl with expectant eyes.
これで少しはいい勝負になると思うわ。
ああ、そう願いてえな。
Both of them had evoked their creation of figments, yet case seemed completely different from Wilhelm's. One changed everything, including the bird space around him, while the other only transformed her own body. What did the difference be? Which was more powerful?
あなたの世界は戦争を前提にしている。
Kay was literally burning in scarlet flames, yet she addressed her opponent in a voice cold as ice.
何十人、何百人を巻き込んで、まとめて殺す大量破壊兵器。
And yours is to take down one life. His creation being infused him with the power to counter an entire army, and today it was perfect for a chaotic battlefield where one could discern allies from foes through the curtain of gunpowder fume and ever-raging gales of explosions.
想像以外はルールの想像。つまりこの夜も、この疲れも、あなたの常識を周りに押し付けているだけのこと。でもね、ベイ。常識なんて、人の数だけ存在するのよ。
It was only Wilhelm's sense of aesthetics that beautified the mystery of the night, preventing it from ever coming to an end. In reality, countless people preferred the warmth of noon sunlight, the orange tint of early evening, or even thunder and rain to the silver gleam of the moon.
想像世界に大勢巻き込めば巻き込むほど、常識がぶつかり合って威力が落ちる。
Perverts do what?
こんなことはありえないと、世界を否定する因子の数だけ、あなたのルールには亀裂が走る。
Is that true? He currently had over 300 people inside. She had to command the power of his ego for bringing that man contracting wills under his spell. No one in this world who could overcome it. The same will that once dyed countless battlefields rose crimson, leaving only bloodshed in its wake. The unlikely exceptions would be the two heads of the obsidian table. Yet right now,
私にマレウス、藤井君。
even if one discounted Kain, who no longer possessed a mind of his own, three preternatural beings still remained in the realm.
致命的とは言わないまでも、だいぶ苦しいんじゃないかしら。
確かに腹具合はちと悪いが、まあさっきてめえを殺しきれなかったみたいによ、そういうことも多少はあろうさ。だがそれで
Countless stakes sprouted from the fence, the floor, and even from the empty space around him.
俺にとっちゃ戦いってのはそういうもんだ。怠慢だろうがなんだろうが関係あろうがなかろうがまとめて刺して吸い殺す。俺の周りにいるってことは俺に殺されてってことなんだよ。
The moment he uttered those words, a storm of stakes assaulted Kay like the merciless barrage of a Gatling gun.
火になったからすり抜けるだのと楽観するなよ、お嬢ちゃん。
The vampiric night entered steel. One could normally drill through or sever flames, yet this world was governed by a different set of laws.
じゃあ、どっちの方が頑固者か。
Kay leaned forward and kicked off the ground like a sprint runner.
試しましょうか。
Taking the shape of a fireball, she crushed the squall of stakes. Her realm only existed within herself, changing her very own nature. She herself now existed as a different world, dislodged both from reality and Wilhelm's domain, a star that soared alone and free from hindrance. She might not have been the best of shape, but fire and vampires did not mingle well. She did not despair, for claiming victory was not yet a hopeless venture. However, his fist drilled through her flames, dispersing them in the air. Wilhelm's domain remained perfectly intact. Did her wounds cancel out the superiority she should have gained through her affinity with fire, leaving them both on equal ground, or perhaps...
てめえが下だ。
Wilhelm vaulted upwards, dodging Kay's blade before it crashed to end. evaporated half of the steel fence, and launched another barrage of stakes from above. At the same time,
ジョーちゃん、戦争ってもんを分かってねえ。
more stakes like unforgiving thorns of rose emerged from the ground directly below her. With her footing taking the shape of a pinholder and the barrage of stakes closing in on her from above, she felt as if trapped within the jaws of a colossal beast. She fought and struggled against her impending fate like a wounded lion, but there were limits to what one could do in a situation with no way out. No room to dodge them, and certainly no chance of parrying them at all. So she gave up, basically. Despite having been skirted from all sides, Kay was lucky enough to have escaped a fatal wound by turning to fire at the last moment. Still, she sustained incredible damage. She could close her gaping wounds in an instant, and even prevent more blood from gushing out, yet Wilhelm's attacks carried the power to pierce her very soul. And without giving her a moment's rest, another barrage of stakes was already on its way towards her. Stakes came flying from all directions, surrounding her at every angle. Upon realizing that she could not possibly dodge each and every one, Kay braced herself for pain and instead chose to launch a counterattack. Her scarlet steel could pierce, or rather melt, the concrete floor with ease, its blade having turned to an amalgamation of raging flames, and so, unbound by the laws that used to shackle its solid shape, it could also extend preventing any means of escape for its prey. Kay's sword, now a towering pillar of flames over 5 meters in height, crushed Wilhelm in the air, severing his right arm from the shoulder. The blood that sprayed forth from the wound turned into vapor in the blink of an eye. Wilhelm's flesh caught on fire, his very bones consumed by the violent inferno. Soon enough, even his cerebrospinal fluid would reach boiling point. The pain must have been exquisite beyond description, hardly the kind every average man could withstand, yet the Diver Beast did not even flinch. He simply halted for a second, waiting for the torment to wade, and proceeded to scare Kay again without showing a single opening. That was what he meant by his warning. Kay was simply too used to one-on-one fights. She didn't know how to defend herself against attacks coming from multiple angles. This certainly wasn't Kay's first time battling superior numbers, yet her heart, her very soul, was entirely too single-minded. Having built her whole world around a single concept blazing in her heart, she refused to acknowledge everything else. Some would call her a lone wolf, other misanthropic. She could only ever fix her gaze on what lay straight ahead, remaining blind to all else. Being on the other end of the spectrum, Wilhelm had been surrounded by malevolence at all angles from birth. In Wilhelm's mind, everyone but himself was an enemy. The horrors of the era made his delusion spiral even further into depravity, giving birth to this night of blood-stained roses. His heart allowed room only for loyalty towards gold. He would devour everything else in his path. His indiscriminate lust for blood, however, would time and again serve as a distraction, making Wilhelm less efficient in one-on-one confrontations. The fact that Kay still drew breath despite him having the upper hand throughout the entire battle stood testament to his inability to focus his lust. His constant desire to massacre thousands of times prevented him from settling only for one prey. In short, both their affinities were like inverse double-edged swords. One could not judge which of them was supposedly stronger or weaker. One was a specialist of duels, the other of war. A lone path to self-perfection. A path of all-devouring carnage. Kay, being the former, was helpless against the ever-demon's wall of stakes. Wilhelm, being the latter, could still extinguish the fire of a single girl. Still, the inevitable outcome of the battle had become clear, provided it continued for much longer. The girl might have been resistant to Wilhelm's attacks, but he still landed them all of his target without fail. If this persisted, he would end up gradually chipping away at Kay's life, ultimately robbing her of it. Bolstering her flames, the girl slid through the trap of the stakes once again, only to find herself in another. Some she cut from the air with her blade, others she attempted to parry or dodge, yet the squall of stakes remained unrelenting. 30, 40, 50, 60, their barrage continued with no end in sight. From the moment Kay evoked her creation figment, Wilhelm shifted his tactics to long-range attacks exclusively. He couldn't come close to the fiery girl's blazing frame, for a single touch from her could mean the end for the vampire. Was that really Kay, though? Would such a walking tornado of carnage care for tactics or his own personal safety at this point? She knew, in the case she stood no chance at this distance. Lengthening the blade unavoidably slowed the motion of her sword, which meant she would receive a follow-up punishment unless she could take him out with that single hit. She had no choice but to look for an opportunity to get closer. And right after praying the 208th stake, Queso Wilhelm had stayed. He was likely trying to reload his ammunition. That was her chance. She kicked off the ground, launching the vampire in the fashion of a comet, leaving a trail of fire behind her. She would envelop the Ivor demon in her scarlet flames, and burn him to ashes with her blade. She put her very being into the attack, ready to end the vampire in a single strike, and yet... Much like Kay, or perhaps even earlier than the girl, Wilhelm had also launched forward, entering close quarters combat. He twisted his body so far that his back became visible to Kay. His muscles creaked from the incredible tension. And then, like a cow, he delivered a fierce punch. Grasping the stakes on his hands like brass knuckles while not minding the flames consuming his flesh in the slightest, the ruin of carnage launched his deadliest attack yet. Aimed straight at the girl's neck. Her cervical vertebrae shattered, decimating her trachea. Robbed of her voice, Kay crushed the water tank behind her, piercing through its thin walls, and collided with yet another wall behind it. A steam explosion erupted the moment her flames came into contact with the water, covering the roof in powder dust and smoke. The impact shattered both Kay's body and will, unraveling the final threads that still held her consciousness together. That was the end of their boat. She couldn't move, this time. Shirley couldn't stand up. She gave it her all, she put her life on the line, and despite all that, she still lost. She couldn't die, she couldn't, she didn't want to, yet her body refused to move an inch. Help? Lowering his fist, he considered Kay's motionless body from above. Mosfield's right hand had been scorched to a crisp after coming into contact with Kay's inferno, but it didn't seem to bother him one bit. He was far too intoxicated with bloodlust to care for physical pain. In other words, he did find their battle exciting enough to get fired up.
そう悪くはなかったが、経験不足だな、レオン。お前、自分が何か新しい概念を体現したとでも思ってたのか？黒煙卓にはてめえだけを変えるってやつが他にもまだ何人かいるぜ。しかも、残らずお前より数段上だ。
He addressed her like a teacher would a pupil, an old show of kindness from someone of his disposition. Gently drifting closer to the abyss of Kay listened to the demon's words in silence. Indeed, she was a child, no more, helpless and ignorant, a foolish little girl who had been a burden to everyone, even forcing those few she held dear into an early grave. Was she beyond redemption? Is that why she met such an end? Was her supposed best still not enough? What did she do wrong?
マキナに、そしてシュライバー。ああ、あとはバルキュリアもだな。そういう変化を起こすのは。
Beatrice, what would she think about her now? Would she be angry with her, exasperated by her foolishness? Or would she laugh at her crazily, and she brought upon herself? She would likely treat her as a child again. Even still, Kay wanted to know what her idol would have done in her shoes. How would she fight? What would she do to survive this? Kay didn't want to die yet. She wished to meet them again, to apologize. She couldn't let it all end in a place like this. She begged Beatrice for an answer, longing to know what she had to do, wanting her idol to help her. A chuckle spilled from Wilhelm's lips as he saw light return to Kay's eyes. He saw danced with excitement. This was not enough. Not yet. If the girl had the will to stand, he'd fight her till nothing remained of her but a pile of bones. To quench the bloodlust of his nocturnal roses. It was the girl that they desired. Filling his chest to the brim with elation, this little sweetheart would wither from his carnivorous loaf. Just like she did.
お前の好きなキルヒアイゼン注意だよ。 俺が知ってる範囲でいやそんなもんだが、まあよかったじゃねえか。喜べや。お前の想像、連度も強さもだいぶ劣るが、あのアホのによく似てるぜ。
That line was exactly what she needed. She stood up, her legs before as heavy as lead, began to move once more as light returned to her eyes. After having been told something so wonderful she couldn't waste time to place like this. She reignited the flame of her soul, letting it dance in exquisite scarlet once again, for her rune was stirred, the very concept of valor. Her wound wasn't fatal. She had yet to glimpse the light at the end of the tunnel. Her body was made of fire, no one could break it. As long as she believed that to be true, she would never yield to Wilhelm's vampire ignite. She felt that fact truer now than ever. For
彼女はどんな。
そうさな。
Wilhelm broke into a faintly nostalgic smile. He had no reason to ask for Kate. Anyone would think she was simply trying to buy time, hoping for Wilhelm to let his guard down. In her heart, Kay must have harbored a sort of melancholic yearning to hear more about her idol, but it couldn't have possibly taken more than 1/10 of her mind at the moment. The girl would be the biggest fool in the world if she even loaded to take up a third. However, had Wilhelm smelled trickery of any sort, he would have ended the girl's life, then and there. Yet he decided to ask for her, likely having seen through and commending the madness tainting her mind. In truth, Kay longed more than anything to hear more. Her eyes gleamed in the defiant light, communicating that if she truly was like Beatrice, she would never be defeated by the likes of him. If she could mimic her artist, she couldn't possibly lose. Can you answer? The Ivory Demon could contain his laughter no more. He was utterly and thoroughly amused by the girl's display. Such frank and naive conviction, such an absurd form of affection. Indeed. Beatrice Waltrud von Kircheisen, a fool down to the very marrow of her bones, as well as a truly amazing woman. 11 years ago had passed since she left them. 11 years since he last heard her speak or could feel her touch. Who could have thought that she, after dying to evoke a swastika, would send an insane brat to him in her stead? A genuine miracle, if he had ever seen one.
見ろやレオン。
Wilhelm narrowed his eyes, his crimson pupils glittering with joy as he looked over the athletics field.
バルキュリアの創造。それはな。
Hey! Hey! 10 elegant fingers danced in the air. If Lisa Brenner wielded her powers like a conductor of an orchestra, then Ursula Schweglin was a pianist. As the main star of the whole performance, she'd force others to occasionally bend the rules. She was making way for her arrogant, ego-fueled improvisations. She hit her keys with power, with passion, with elation. Forte, forte, fortissimo! She displayed not a hint of care towards her instrument. With Lisa gone, the thing would wither and die. Anyway, she might as well exhaust it here. After all, she had something very important to do. She had to steal Ren Fuji's powers. She craved the power of his Achnenerbe for herself. The avid collector in her trembled with excitement at the very thought of getting her hands on an instrument of such raw power, something that belonged to Mercurius. She couldn't tell if the boy simply lacked the skill to wield it properly, but in her hands, the guillotine would become a terrifying weapon capable of rivaling even Machina's fists. Or so she thinks. As a tool of execution, it carried the concept of absolute death in its decapitating steel. Having been existence like that from the very start, it should have been able to annihilate anything in its path, be it demon or saint, beast or man. Even Lord Heydrich and Mercurius. Because as I said long time ago, she might know a lot of techniques, but she's not having them perfected at all, any of them. She could no longer contain her laughter. But she wasn't planning to rebel, not really. She despised Mercurius and dreaded Lord Harry, but she didn't want to fight them. This was all a matter of pride, nothing more. The raw instinct of a fellow magician she could not resist. To ascend to unseen heights, to push ever onwards, as far as one could go. She could simply wish for progress and perpetual self-improvement. She wouldn't let anyone condemn that. They should do however they pleased, leaving her to her sublime endeavors. She remained their loyal servant if they so desired. Except she just might end up becoming more powerful than them along the way. Okay, let's face it, it's not possible. Even if they should have factored in that possibility before creating such a thing. An insane tool of transcendence, capable of devouring and absorbing the powers of all that lived, permit to the hands of Lord Heydrich alone. And the Wellsburg Longinus in the giant's hands was a replica of that holy lance. The two may have looked nothing alike in terms of exterior, yet they retained the same properties. Although she boasts one could also argue that the thing wielded by the giant caused something more akin to duplication than predation. In the case, Tuval would absorb the powers and weapons of those he defeated. It was his, or rather his, Achternerbe's fixed creation figment. And so she didn't care if the monster would fall apart as long as it managed to duplicate Ren Fuji's guillotine. In fact, she needed Kane's Achternerbe, the false lance, and someone from the Insane family that forged it. With that she could create as many Tubal Canes as she wanted. The fact that Lisa spent 11 years sitting on her hands left Rusalka thoroughly mystified. If she was in her place, she would have traveled all across the world looking for various Achternerbe and worthwhile men for Kane to devour. And so she would grow ever stronger. Why didn't Lisa do it? Well, because first of all she wasn't crazy. Maybe she did she not realize the potential she had at her fingertips? She must have been very feeble-minded not to. In the case, you would be alright from now on. She could make use of the chance given to her. After all, she even already had a descendant of that monster's family trapped in her web. But he would be dead by that time. But just as Syrupy's sweet smile was about to grace her lips, Rusalka's cat suddenly jerked backwards as a brute noise interrupted her sing-song voice. As Ali peeked in the training hall, she spotted Rusalka sitting in a lotus position and grinning herself like a fool with her eyes closed. She considered the possibility of blowing her brains out, but it didn't seem like bullets very much use against them.
あんたらさ、そこまで行くとギャグに見えるから空気読もうよ。っていうか、真剣にどうなってるのか解剖したくなるじゃない。あら、あなた。
Rusalka got up, still somewhat teary-eyed as she rubbed her forehead and lashed out at the nearby alley.
ちょっと、いきなり何するのよ。わかんないだろうけど、それなりに痛いんだからね。それなりね。
She couldn't tell if she was joking or being serious. Vulcan took their magnum bullets with a smile on his face back then, so she doubted it must have hurt much.
まあ、そりゃいいとして。あんたは何してたのさ。私？見りゃわかるじゃない。演奏よ。演奏？
Shana, Rusalka's fingers were still preoccupied, vigorously wriggling in the air like the legs of a spider. She had no idea what on earth she was doing, but doubted it to be anything pleasant.
それであなた、会うのは2度目ね。私に何か用かしら？別に、あんたには用はないけど。
It didn't like Kasumi was around here. Ellie's roughness had just made her step on a landmine she could have very well avoided. The head of the situation must have gotten even to her. Panicking was normally her thing. She should have been in a place to proper look before opening fire. And to make matters worse.
あれ？ちょっとそこの、出てきなさいよ。
What kind of sense did she have? She even noticed her hiding behind the doors outside?
出ておいて。
And as if those words cast a spell, Aurea appeared out of the shadows, carrying an air of fear and hesitation about her. Uh-oh.
これは
In that very moment, the four preternatural beings felt a sudden but obvious change in the air of the place. An omen, heralding someone's coming. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, what the hell is going on now? The first to sense it was Kay, whose resistance to infernal pressure had fallen the lowest due to her wounds.
待ってよ。
The second was Rusalka, who was by nature sensitive to the flow of souls.
野郎が。
一体
Ren and Wilhelm sensed it almost at the same time. The last one was Ellie, who had an incredibly well-developed sixth sense for regular oil. Dies irae, dies illa sobat sa clum in favilla, teste David cum sibilla. A whirlwind of malicious will swallowed the entire campus in an instant. Two Valkyne let out a roar as Rusalka's shadows vanished. In the next moment, a beam of purple lightning grown even larger than before, concentrated the giant lump of metal in his hands. The faint hint of a voice seeped out from inside his mask. I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't stand its gurgling. It made me sick to the core. I saw against the overwhelming gag reflex as the Knight of Bloodstained Rose trembled at the mercy of an inexplicable pressure. The phenomenon seemed to make the exhaustion shackling my body wane a little, but I had something else more to worry about now. I remembered how did that freak pulled something like this back in the club too. It seemed like he'd go on a rampage whenever his master lost control of him. Growing ever stronger, ever faster, ever more precise. The freshly opened crack in his mask, already on the verge of coming loose, made his words a touch more audible. Told you it was Beatrice, he was saying. I'm so good at this! I could be his translator! Wait, no, that's not the word, I guess. Never mind. Beatrice, wasn't it? Yeah, that was Beatrice. One of the Obsidian Table's dead members, as well as Sakura's predecessor whose life opened the swastika in the museum. A woman that was apparently somehow similar to Kasumi. Sorry.
どういう
A burst of light assaulted me before I could even finish my line. The same kind of terrible beam that Sakura saved my life from earlier. It pierced through the air, seemingly even more potent and vigorous than before. It whistled right past my ear, shaking the vampire night to its very foundations. Wilhelm jumped out of the beam's way as it crashed into the roof.
やらこれはどういうことだ
The whole of his night of blood-stained roses echoed across the campus. Wilhelm, through sheer instinct, knew that his domain was rapidly approaching the amount of souls it could contain. However, he added another layer to his night. It was his kingdom, his very own realm. He wouldn't let anyone mess with it. He could swallow thousands of more people into his night. Even those of his own kin would have a terrible time trying to break through it. Indeed, despite having already swallowed Ren and Rusalka, his hold on the reins of his domination loosened not one bit. And yet... How could this dead sack of shit, Ember Puppet, fight his domain with such incredible force? The hell was up with that? He furrowed his brows at the inexplicable of the phenomenon, even though that was merely one of the things that bothered him right now. He had no idea what had gotten the freak, but even with him, his realm had only 4 significant beings prisoner. He still should have been able to bear it just fine. He should have provided that number was correct. He could feel 4 more souls, all of incredible luster, enter his realm of night. One hot as an inferno, one wild as a whirlwind, one impassive as steel, one shackled by the curse of weak sanctity. Daring his fangs at the moon in an explosion of rage, Wilhelm howled the name of the man to whom one of those souls belonged. He said he didn't care for the girl's life, that he was free to act however he pleased. The hell was this shit-stained planning now? Although he couldn't see him, the voice of the divine visitor rang in a certain hall right next to him.
Memento mori. それはテレジアの恐怖、テレジアの執着。彼女が希望ないし絶望を知り、生死のどちらかを渇望した瞬間に、大隊長殿らは招かれる。
Whoa.
これはつまりそういうこと。 それまでにレオンハルトを殺しきれず戦いを長引かせたあなたの不手際、あなたの敗北、私の預かり知るところではない。
Holy shit!
残るお二人が帰還するには第5のスワスチカが必要なれば、
A sudden flash of golden light.
捧げられるべきは敗北者こそふさわしい。
The golden ray of light invaded the realm from outside, piercing through the center of the crimson moon. Its shattered remnants revealed the silhouette of a woman, Kasumi, illuminated by radiant light. Welcome to know that another person, distance and dimension notwithstanding, had just been pierced by the same light as well.
核の異常はこれでなり、我が望みの半分は成就した。眠れ戦友、ビルヘルム・エーレンブルグ中尉殿、あなたは私が知る限り最も優秀かつ勇敢な戦士の一人でしたよ。
叫んな!
So he opened a hole the size of a needle in his world. Did he believe that alone would net him victory? Wickham's knight would still not fall. He would not lose against anyone. To be defeated, to rest in peace. Nonsense. None could stand in the way of an immortal vampire of his caliber. As raw fury took hold of Wilhelm, everything but the audacious priest was washed clean from his mind. After all, even if one disregarded the fact that his senses had been modeled by fusing with the nature of a beast, the priest's words were more than enough to make his blood boil. 1,000 curses and a million beatings would be enough to quell the vampire's wrath. He'd tear that son of a bitch to shreds for daring to call him a loser, then impale each and every piece of his for all to see.
そんなあなただからこそ。
And so Wilhelm didn't even notice Keisakura standing behind him. He remained blind to the seething belligerence of a girl who never knew when to give up, choosing instead to press onward till her soul crumbled to ash. A girl practically spellbound by her wounds and the sheer pressure of souls around her. As such, he never spotted the sword glimmering in her hands either.
もう一度言う。あなたの負けだ、米中尉。
貴様!
How much had the Divine Wizard predicted? How much of this went according to his design? Making contact with Renfuji would doubtless sprout the terror of hope in Rahimor's hearts, resulting in the invocation of the 3 battalion commanders. The bewildered Trusaka would let go of her string, and the puppet would turn to a beast. The preternatural souls would invade the night of blood-stained roses. And
ここに第5のスワスチカはなる。
Had all of this gone precisely according to his plan, or was this but a coincidence ushered in by Kei's tenacity like he himself had claimed? No one knew the answer. There was no way to shed light upon the truth. In that moment,
さようなら、我が愛しき同胞。この成功をえぐる痛み。私。
Wilhelm and Edinburgh's demise brought an end to their battle. That alone remained an irrevocable truth. However, on the other end... Okay, not yet, I guess. Having only now remembered how short she was on breath, Kei hungrily inhaled several lungfuls of air as she collapsed onto the concrete of the roof. She had won, she killed him, she was half in trance, the majority of the battle a vague blur in her mind, yet the sensation of splitting with him too was still fresh on her fingertips. She lived a sigh of relief, but soon realized that now was not the time to celebrate. She couldn't just keep on lying here on the ground. By some miracle, she managed to pull through in one piece, and so she now needed to confirm and go to where they were fighting. Every fiber of her being longed for a reunion. She wished to meet them, to look in their eyes, to hear their voices, to feel their warmth as they embraced just like back in old days. Therefore, she dug her nails into the concrete below her and proceeded to crawl forward like some insect. The sight of it was almost brutal. Even the most rich of headhunts would likely consider lending her hand. And that was probably why.
おとなしくしなさい、レオンハルト。
The priest, appearing out of nowhere, lifted the girl up to his embrace. I have a bad feeling about this. I have a very bad feeling about this right now.
今無茶をすれば命に関わる。彼が気になるのなら、ここから見ようではないですか。
When did he get here? Giving a bewildered Kay an affectionate smile through a motion towards the scene beyond the fence with his jaw.
なかなか見応えがある。おお、藤井さんもやりますね。あのカイン相手にまだ立っている。
The priest directed his gaze at the battle, now a violent dance of raging steel and purple lightning. With the Nether gone, their fight had become a true one-on-one duel.
雷足を凌駕し、雷撃をかいくぐる。なるほど。あれを倒すには確かにそれしかないでしょうが、また随分と無茶をする。もはやボロボロではないですか。いけませんね。リザやテレジアが見れば目を向いてそっとしかねない。彼はもう少し自分がどれだけ周囲にとって価値を持つかわきまえた方がよろしい。あなたもそう思うでしょ、レオンハルト。
The state of the night in the distance had been just as the priest described. Kain's lightning attacks appeared ceaseless. Furthermore, he moved at a speed even Kay had trouble following, not to mention the raw power of his swings, entirely befitting his humongous frame. Renfuji, slimming attempts to hold his ground, looked more dead than alive at this point. He simply lacked the means to defeat an opponent that not only surpassed him both speed and strength, but could launch projectiles as well. Their bout seemed almost a complete reannouncement of Kay's own battle with him not too long ago. He could defeat Tubal Kain like this. Number 2 of the obsidian table was an impregnable fortress. One had to first exceed the velocity of his lightning turrets to harbor even the slightest hope of approaching him.
ところで、
Trifa smiled as if having suddenly remembered something.
我ながらこんなことを聞くのも間抜けですが、あなたの心を捉える彼とは一体ですから、あそこにいるどの彼なのかと。
Kay had no idea how she was even supposed to answer that. She didn't care about Fuji. In fact, she hated the vexatious bastard, a sentiment he turned. If they were ever met face to face again, they'd doubtless fight to the death. He may no longer care about her, but Kay still had to fight him eventually as part of her duty. She had to kill him. She probably had to say cruel things to him again, and he'd likely reply with insults of his own. Quarreling was all they could ever do. In other words, he might as well drop dead right here. There was place for only one man in her heart. Just as she was about to explain everything to the priest, she abruptly halted herself. For in that moment,
どうなのです。
a peculiar premonition that something terrible might occur if she voiced her thoughts brushed against her heart. And it would lead to the downfall of all she believed in. She had no idea what the priest was hiding behind that smile. She had no idea so. She took refuge in a vague answer. She was too scared to answer, too scared to even speak. The priest, who still held her closely in her remembrance, chilled her very blood to ice. Triff made a Trump smile, fixing his gaze on the skies above.
ベイの想像もだいぶ解かれています。このままここにいれば大騒ぎですが、とはいえ、あれを放置して去るわけにもいかぬし、さて。
Right, she killed Wilhelm, she had slain a comrade. He was the one who attacked her first and even claimed she wouldn't be held accountable regardless of the result yet. Was it because she still felt uncomfortable about the fact that made the priest appear so terrifying to her today?
まあ、もうしばらくは大丈夫でしょう。よっぽど驚き、いや、納得できなかったのでしょうね。死してなお壊すまいとするその執念。素晴らしい。さすがは風い来るベイ。ともあれ大義でしたレオンハルト。 ここのスワスチカはあなたのものだ。ベイ中尉と彼の集めた魂、ハイドリ秘境への供物として、それに見合う恩恵がいずれあなたに与えられましょう。嬉しくないのですか？
いえ、そんなことは。
Indeed, her wish could very well be considered granted at this point. Wilhelm possessed an enormous amount of souls compared to the rest, and the reward would certainly reflect that. That was what she had been told, what she believed. Wilhelm's souls aside, Kay had accumulated plenty of her own. Combined with his, they should be more than enough, and yet... Nonetheless...
ジーク入る。ここまで来れば、もはや先も見えたというもの。
We'll see about that. Why did it sound like Trifa spoke of their glorious ambition as if it was a thing to be loathed? As if he didn't believe in it in the slightest.
である以上、ここでこれ以上の流血は意味がない上にもったいない。ですからあの二人、止めねばなりません。なかなか面白い見せ物ではありますが、ここで死なすには惜しい。
He once again directed his gaze at the battle, still raging at the athletics field. As Kay beheld his features looking upwards from below, she could have sworn he seemed another man. His eyes, narrowed from more slits, appeared to gleam with the radiance of gold. Kay felt as if she rested not in the hands of the priest but a colossal and terrifying beast.
下ろしてください、ゲイ君。もう立てます。心配いりません。
Initially, the priest's only answer came as yet another troubled smile.
娘というものはどうしてこう成長が早いのでしょうか。
娘。
Well, because you seem dangerous for them, that's for sure.
ええ、あなたをそうしたのは私だ。テレジアと同じ。あなたも私の娘ですよ、レオンハルト。こう腕に抱くという至福、可能な限り味わっていたいと思ったのですがね。どうも私はあまり愛されない父のようだ。仕方ありません。ただ
Trifa's smile made him appear like a hopeless father attempting to garner some sympathy from his daughter. His expression was the kind that would have surely invited ridicule under more common circumstances. Yet Kay could not help but see it as the most ominous thing in the world.
せっかくですので先の質問に答えてください。お願いを聞くのはその後に。あなたの心を捉えて離さない彼とやら、それがあそこにいるというなら一体誰？
ですから。
Who cared about that? It didn't matter. She didn't want to tell him, nor did she want to listen to him any longer. In truth, she didn't know or understand anything herself.
藤井さんですよね。そうでないとおかしい。なぜなら今あそこには
Kay couldn't bear listening to another word from the priest if he uttered the rest of that sentence.
彼と呼んでいいものなど一人しかいないのですから。
What the hell did you do? Kay violently shook her head, shut her eyes and covered her ears tight with her palms as the priest's laugh echoes across the night. Kay felt drops of warm blood trickle down her face, making the already macabre spectacle even ghastlier than before. The fifth swastika delayed by Wilhelm's creation figment opened at long last, forcing fresh rivulets of blood to gush forth from the priest's stigmata. Her own marks left on her by the whole lance filled her with pain just the same. The marks of pride, the honor she inherited from Beatrice. Yet now they seemed only to torment her.
つまりそういうことですよ。ご理解いただけましたか、ザミエル卿。愛ゆえにそは憎む。実に素晴らしい。
笑える話だ。
A crimson inferno blossomed into life behind Trifa. Kate, her heart filling with terror, could not do nothing but tremble in the face of the blazing hellfire easily dwarfing her own.
キルヒアイゼンもいい面の皮だな。
Almost against her will, Kate's eyes shot towards the athletics, filled as if looking for help. The very place where he